Hi, this is Melanie of Pardesi Reviews, and I'm joined with Kathy of CInemondo Podcast. And today, Raj and DK, who have created the Netflix series Guns and Gulaab, one of my favorite projects that they ever did, which was a total flop, is A Gentleman. So that's the one that we're going to discuss today.
Why was it a flop though? Because this thing
I don't understand it at
huge
all.
crowd pleaser. What the hell?
I totally adore this movie.
I love these guys because they've done 2 series on Netflix that I've loved so far. Farzi and then Guns and Gulaabs, which I'm loving. Like I have 1 episode left. And I'm like, they do the perfect blend of scary extreme violence, which is great, and just hilarious humor. They have a villain in Guns and Gulaabs I can't get enough of. When he's on screen, and he's competing with DQ. I want to see the bad guy. So good. And then so when you suggested this and you said, "Oh, this is Raj and DK," I'm like, "Oh, definitely, let's watch it." And I wore my Mission Impossible shirt because it felt very Tom Cruise to me. Like this is a movie Tom Cruise would be very at home doing.
Yeah. Well, if Bang Bang wasn't already a remake of Night and Day, it definitely kind of has that feel, right?
Exactly. And that perfect same thing. Same perfect blend of humor.
I read that the producers originally wanted this film to be a sequel to Bang Bang, or somehow in that universe, but then it became a standalone. I completely do not understand why this was not a successful movie because I die laughing at this movie.
So good.
Okay, first of all, we should say that Raj and DK grew up in the United States, I believe in Atlanta. So the amount of humor about Desi's living in America,
I loved it.
The whole minivan thing. As soon as the minivan thing stopped, I am on the floor.
I know, and the one and his friend, who's the woman, she's looking at going, "Why? Why did you do this? Why did you buy a van?" He's like, "I'm going to be a family man now," and there's like,
look at how many people I can pick up from the airport and all their luggage.
All these kids. She's like, "Kids? What are you talking about?"
You traded in your Mustang for this? What?
And he's this totally good-looking guy, like young, good-looking. He's successful, and you're like,
I mean, I could
get obsessed.
Not getting like Jacqueline Fernandez plays. She is so funny. Okay,
so funny. Loved her.
But what is with you, girl? You got this guy on the friend zone, and you're playing video games with him, and it looks like that. What the hell? I did
that. That was the one thing. It didn't fly. I'm like, when they're all like, into the girlfriend's like, "Girl, why are you with him?" And she's like, "Ew, him." And I'm like, "What do you?" I'm sorry, but his friend Dixit, who I thought was hilarious, they kept calling him Dick shit, which was hilarious. And I like when they're in the elevator and they're like, they're never gonna get it. Just it was so fun. That's the humor we're talking about. Like it's built-in character humor. It's so good. It's not just like dumb humor, like for the sake of humor. It's character driven, which makes it so effective. It's so funny. Oh my God. I loved his sidekick. His friend was so funny. And he becomes kind of a hero. Or I don't know what happened at the end. We'll talk about that, but
yeah.
Something happened. I don't know, but yeah.
The funny thing is Sidharth Malhotra, I'm not going to say he never had an action scene in a film before. Like he has a film called A Villain, but it's much more of a tragic romance, that he's the bad boy saved by love, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. This was his first really, yes, it's an action comedy, but this was his first real action. And that is what he's known for right now. Okay. Like this is the guy that did Sher Shah, like big, huge action movies now. And this is the movie that to me showed he's made for it. He's made for these kind of spy things. Are you kidding me?
He can do both. He's good looking. He's like good looking, but he can do comedy. He's like what Ryan Gosling is now, where he's super good looking, but he can handle comedy. Yeah. Tom Cruise, he always puts comedy. That's what makes the movies entertaining. It's the same thing at Mission Impossible. They have that humor, that little cheeky, self-awareness that this movie had. And he was so good at, because he's really good looking, but then he can also be kind of dorky in a weird way. Like when that proposal was just painful. And you're like, oh my God. I'm like, she's like, don't do this. Get off the floor. So good. And that's the stuff that's so funny because, and again, I'm like, I'm not understanding why she's saying no, but okay.
I know.
She didn't get to see the hot spy version that he was. So once she saw that, it was like,
when she saw the tattoos, it was all over.
it's the bad boys. I'm telling you, every time. I mean, he was cute.
Watching it again, I saw how he would put on a t-shirt and then be like, "Oh no, it's showing a little bit. I gotta do the long sleeve and roll up the."
And I like how he was the good-looking kind of business guy. He had kind of boring clothes. He had kind of really conservative hair. Yeah, and he was fine, and he was good-looking enough, but he was kind of like, kind of middle of the road. You know, I mean, middle of the road, good-looking, not like he was ugly or anything. But then when they show him as the and they show him as the spy, it's like, whoa, hold on, what is happening? Why did he change his hair? Why does he not show his biceps? Please do this. But I love he's like his way of hiding in plain sight was to just be a nerd. That's what he's gonna do now. Like, okay. He's not gonna dye his hair, he's not gonna grow a beard, he's just gonna be a nerd. No one will notice. Everybody's thinking
and decorate his entire house in Pottery Barn and Crate and
I love that. Even the paint on the wall is perfect. I can't say I hated it either. It was kind of nice. I know. Not how you imagine a spy living, but then again, these guys did Family Man, right?
Yeah.
And so you kind of get so good. So basically we have a spy who's hiding out in Miami. Yeah. As it's just the boring data entry, buys a house, he's got the minivan. No one's gonna think he's can do anything dangerous at all. Just that guy. Yeah. Yeah. And then we find out, back in the past, he has a dark past, which is he was a pretty efficient killer. The spy. Yeah. What the fuck?
I mean, it is a little confusing. I mean, it's purposely confusing. Yeah. Right. And I remember when some of the trailers were coming out, it was like introducing Gaurav, and you're like,
wait, what?
Are they twins?
Yeah, no. At first, when they did that, they did that. And they had that cool graphic where they introduced them kind of like they were playing around with Guns and Gulaabs, where they have the kind of, his type comes across and it's this freeze frame of him doing some action. And you're like, now we're in a different time. We're like 5 years ago or something, whatever it was. It's like just in the weirdest time zone, like 2016 or I don't know what it was. It was like, okay. But they drive you into that and they just drop you in it. And you're like, what? Completely. And I'm thinking, is this a dream sequence? Is this like what he wishes he would? Like, couldn't figure it out. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh wait, this is who he is. This is who he really is. So that was like, okay, it took me a minute. But I got it. I was a little distracted by how different he looked.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, he couldn't pull it off. But yeah, he was really cute. And that's where he started getting very Tom Cruise for me. He had the kind of hair. He was, doing the posing and the black t-shirts and the, whole thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And we can talk about t-shirts some more. Expensive shirts that fit well. That's what it was. So yeah, that was entertaining. So then it really picks up. Like you're like, oh, this is what the movie's going to be about. And they kind of flip back and forth a couple times. So mostly we were dropped pretty heavily into his cool spy universe, which is very, very cool.
Yeah. Suniel Shetty, who is the person who kind of took him in as an orphan or whatever, but also Suniel Shetty. I mean, this is not the first time I've seen him play a really good villain. Like he's good as the villain who, and it's how many of these movies have we seen? And I can never get enough. It's just like just one more job, and then I want to retire.
Like, this is your last job, and then you're done. You can go on your merry way.
One more job.
It's like, or I'm retiring next week. It's like, oh God, he's gonna die. It's definitely gonna die. So I love that too. That setup is so great because there's a lot of stake. You feel the guy's not really on his game. He's like, I'm tired of this. I want out. And so you're thinking, is he going to be able to pull this off? Because, he doesn't want to do it anymore. So
yeah, the one car scene where first of all, when you hear the name Gaurav, when he meets the guy to the drive, you're like, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. Right? Like, wait, what?
Wait, what? And then Gaurav gets, and then they're all in the car together. I think that is actually a really cool action scene.
Great.
Right? Because the text comes in like, did you finish the job? Did you finish it? And then you're just like waiting and you're like, oh my God, like you say, he's retiring. He's lowered his guard. This is his crew.
Yeah. People he trust.
He didn't lower his guard.
My God. That car scene, spectacular. let me see. What are my notes here? I have some notes I took. It was like car stunt, amazing. Like, first of all, I had not seen that before. And then like I feel like I've seen so much car stunt, so much action. The car flying through the air was great, like from one parking garage to the next.
Yes.
Which is scary as hell to me. But I'm like, oh my God.
Right. And the kid looking, I'm like, oh my God.
And they're like, cars flying, what's happening? And I love that it doesn't make it. It gets stuck between two buildings and they keep fighting. So good. So good. And I'm like, how do you get out of that? Like, get out of there. And they're like, no, and the guy wouldn't let him. So you have this great intense, like, there's a time limit. Fantastic, beautifully shot inside the car. Like, I don't even know how they managed it. It's like, I'd love to see a making of this. But yeah, so good. Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. It's worth seeing just for that. That was beautiful. I know. And of course you think, oh good, he got out, everything's gonna be fine. Nope. Guess he survived the impact. The bad guy's still out there. It's like, oh my God.
It keeps going.
Keeps going. Oh my God, it was so good. It was great. That was where it got very Mission Impossible to me. Like the long form fights that happen. It's like they're almost their own set piece. And then they just keep it all contained in one sequence. So you have the huge set piece of the car. You have the huge, dashing through the streets and the maze of streets, fighting. Like just, oh my God, spectacular stuff. Great.
And I love how they've established, again, watching it again. I don't know how many times I've seen this movie. It never gets old for me, but they've established, even with a tour of his whole house with Jacqueline Fernandez's parents, right? And the pottery barn, this and the crate barrel, right? And then when you see the villain one of the villains come in and put his dirty shoes on that white couch, you're like,
I know. I was like, oh God, you just feel the visceral reaction. I'm like, get your feet off the damn couch.
I love how the one guy's like, oh, sorry. And then the other one purposely puts his muddy feet out there.
You and your couch. I'll show you who's boss.
But then it's like, as the shootout happens, you're like, oh my God. Because
all those beautiful
like how much he loves this house and how much care he had put into doing it.
It was
like
so
normally
good.
You don't feel anything when a house gets all shut up like that, but this one you're like, oh no.
I know, the beautiful painted walls and all those beautiful neutrals, like the blue and the kind of like golden brown, and then there's all bullet holes all over it. Like,
every couch cushion going. I'm like, no.
I know, debris everywhere. Oh my God, it was so painful to watch that. And he was so proud of it and so particular. Like, they have him as the nerd, his nerd life where he's putting everything in its place and everything's so perfect and everything's on the top of the refrigerator and put away. So you knew it was painful for him also.
But I also love that they showed him putting those things away. And then later you realize it's in that shootout. You realize that's where he hid all his guns.
Right. Exactly. It's like, oh, look how cute that is. Oh no, that was very specific. That was so good. I love that. They had a bunch of good gags.
Yeah. There was just such really fun, amazing attention to detail and stuff like that. And then, things that bounce back and you're like, oh, that just seemed like a gratuitous little thing, but it flashed so quickly, but then there's a little payoff later.
It all matters. And I love, like, there were a couple scenes played for laughs, but also because it's so self-aware, is when he's talking to, I think it was Coco, but he was like, send me the information. And all of a sudden his phone's like, doo, doo, doo. You see the batteries dying. He's like, damn this phone. And so while he's sending him the stuff, of course his phone dies. And you're like, we can all relate. Like, oh, the phone's always died the most. And you're always charged all the time, except when you really, really need it. Which I love that. Does just made me laugh so much. I don't know why. Just seeing these guys being all tough and they're like, my phone. so good. And also, I just love a great hide the body gag. Like when that hitman
keeps on going with the hide the body.
I could not stop laughing when Dixit inadvertently comes in to help, saves him, but also is involved in the murder. I love where the parents come over and they've hidden the body in the bathroom in the tub. And so the father peeks in. Oh God. And here's Dixit in his shorts and socks getting into the bathtub with, you clearly see a body through the clear,
shower curtain. Yeah.
So here's like pulling it over. So funny to me. This amateur hour, 100%. That was so good.
The sales presentation, he's looking up and saying that the guy is
you can take over. Well, it's curving up here, and then he was pure gold in this. Every scene he was in, he totally like made this shit happen. It was so good. I loved him. And there's also the great line. Okay, so we get to the point where bad guys have come in, they trash this beautiful house. the girlfriend comes in. I keep forgetting her name.
Well, the actress is Jacqueline Fernandez.
Jacqueline.
I don't remember
We'll
what
just call her Jacqueline.
I don't
She
know
comes
what her
in.
character's name was, but yeah.
So they kidnap them both, tie them up in the basement, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And I love her.
Bring this up.
Her line: "There's no dearth of psychos in America." She is 100% right about that. There really isn't. She's like, of course it would be America where this happens. You know, so funny. And then when he tries to help her out, when they're trying to help them escape.
Oh my God. Where he looks at her necklace and realizes that's where I can get a pin to open the handcuffs. Oh my God, that scene kills me.
Here, let me get, I don't have any hands. I'm going to have to use my mouth on your chest. And she's like, okay, fine.
Because at that point, she's like, it's nerdy gore of what's going to happen. She doesn't care.
Exactly. This is like, he's not going to do anything. So funny. That was really, and that's what we're talking about. This humor that's just built in. It's so good. I had so much fun with this movie. I just thought it was so good. And I love her. It's the same thing that happens in Guns and Gulaabs. The women dismiss the nerd. Yeah, you know.
Right. But
Raj,
the bad guy with the tattoos.
Right. And then the minute she's like, how many people have you killed? And he's like, I don't know. They're all bad guys too. Mostly, maybe. And then she's like, this is so hot. All of a sudden she's like, wow, you're so cool. And you're like, this is a running theme with these guys. You gotta be they take bad boy to the next level. But
I love Jacqueline Fernandez in this movie. I think she has a really good comedy sense. Yep. And another scene that I love is the, enforced all the employees doing karaoke.
Yeah. The karaoke scene. I have this like karaoke is painful.
And his friend is like,
it's like, stop. And in the background the whole time, don't do it. So, and she's all like, what are you doing? He goes, no, nothing. It's stop that. And I love like he's being so bad. He's singing this terrible love song off key. It's awful. And then bam, he hits it. So good. Kicks in. Okay, we're doing rock and roll now. He's like, oh, I get the message. Suddenly he's amazing. The great dance sequence, the rock and roll. All of a sudden you're like, wow. I feel like he tapped into his bad boy at that moment. The good boy went away for a second and we let the spy take over for that little dance sequence. It was so fun. I love that. It was fantastic.
If you like Sidharth, we have many more films to explore.
I got nothing but time and stars to get acquainted with. Here we come. We've been working on DQ. It's time to move on. New stars.
So we had mentioned when we were talking about Karan Johar films, Sidharth was a model, and Karan Johar was the one that launched him. So there's a film called Student of the Year that was Alia Bhatt's debut, Varun Dhawan's debut, and Sidharth Malhotra. So Sidharth Malhotra was the scholarship kid at the fancy school, and Varun and Alia were, part of the rich kid cool crowd, right?
Love it.
So
good. Well, we have our marching orders. We're watching that next. So highly recommend this film, you guys. You could not, it's just such an easy watch. It's so much fun. It's got just the right amount of humor.
I just think about, I don't know if it just was wrong timing when it came out or why it didn't hit right, because I think it would just kill if it came out now.
Totally would. Yeah. So we're going to bring it back. We're going to make Gentlemen a hit now.
Okay. Well, there's something about Raj and DK that they just, like you say, they combine this violence and action scenes that are really inventive and like it's really hard to show the two of us who have seen so many movies, something fresh with an action scene, right? And like you say, the car getting stuck between two buildings, totally never seen it anywhere before, right?
Nope. And you're like, it's so obvious. Why wouldn't you see this? It's so good.
Right. And so, and just this really great balancing act that they have between comedy and the more serious action parts. Violent things happen, and we're both watching Guns and Gulaabs, and Rajkumar Rao kills people with spanners or wrenters or
the spanner killer.
Right? But yet he's so funny. Like his character is so funny.
It's a classic super nerd who has that little bit of moment, and then the woman's like, "Oh, how many people have you killed?" That same thing.
Yeah,
so weird. That's so cute. He's so cute in that. I love it.
But I think this film has a little extra because these are two writers who grew up in America.
Yeah.
And it just has a little extra laughing at the diaspora, the Indian community in America, just like
so cute. That was so funny. I love the relatability of the elevator scene we talked about briefly, where they say hello to everyone, hello, 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 and they're speaking in English, and Dixit comes in, they're calling him Dick shit, hello Dick, and he's all like, oh, and then they start speaking, Hindi to each other, and no one can understand them, and they're all like, oh, these people are stupid, don't ever. But I love that because that has to be like a total protection to be able to vent to people who are around the dumb people can't understand the language.
Right. Yeah.
But they weren't mean. They were just clueless. Clueless Americans with a lot of psychos. I don't know.
How about that end credit scene though? Like it's like the nerdy friend then suddenly goes in the gun shop, and I was like, are they trying to show? And they kind of, we don't know where we are, and he's like, oh, do you have a bigger one? Do you have it in blue? Like you're like, where is he? Is he in his sex shop? Like what? Where is he?
Exactly.
Then we pan out, and then I think that's when the line he says, will you give me free bullets with that? And then the guy's like, I'll give you a deal. And we pan out and realize he's in a gun shop. Right. And then I think it's like they're purposely showing exactly how it is in America, that it's like next to a preschool or something. Like, I don't know if that would really be the way it would be, but just in a random strip mall, absolutely.
Right? And what do you think that meant? Do you think it means that he got a taste for it when he was doing all of that, or do you think he was also another undercover spy they were both kind of there?
I think he just got a taste for the thrill of it. I mean, they made jokes about how he felt alive and whatever, and had an amazing time with his wife after all of the excitement. That's true. Or whatever.
He put on his little hoodie, he walks out, he looks all creepy. Ooh.
Yeah, I think it's definitely just that he's
like, this makes me feel good.
Whereas Gaurav / Rishi couldn't wait to just I don't want to live this way anymore, right? Yeah. But that was his first taste of it, and he's like, it
was cool.
But I also wonder if it was just like Raj and DK being like, America, this is what just go to the strip mall and pick up a gun.
It probably is a little bit of that, because it was really easy. He just walked in and said, I want some guns. They gave it to him. That's how easy it is. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for watching this movie with me. One
really
of my
fun.
all-time favorites, which
really
I still don't understand why it was a flop, because it's so awesome.
Hopefully it'll get some new life, since these guys are kind of coming into the zeitgeist right now. They're getting more and more, visible to people, and they're, producing really fun series on Netflix. So definitely check them out, you guys.
Right. If you enjoy Guns and Gulaabs and Raj and DK, like Stree and some of their other films, do go back and look at this one, because it's amazing.
It's amazing.
All right. Thanks, Kathy, again for joining me. You can, of course, find Kathy on her channel, CInemondo Podcast. I'll have a link in the description to her channel. We go back and forth. So I do reviews, and we do things on her channel as well. So look for us both places.
That's right. We'll make you look for it. Okay.
And of course, you can find me on Twitter, X, whatever the hell it is, at Pardesi YT. And then let me count them all: Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads at Pardesi Reviews.
So many places. All right.
Bye.
Bye.